let's do something we haven't done for a while. We're going to do some calculations. Let's see how realistic this dude is. So we'll watch some clips and then I'll do some calculations. Alright, so what I wanted to talk about today, to begin with, are these like thruster pulses. So I remember from watching all these movies, I've seen them all of course, he would sort of just like gently push people around with them. And I thought, hey, that would probably kill them. So how about we do a calculation? Let's work out if Iron Man really could just use his thruster to push people away without killing them. I think they're probably going to die, but let's see what the math says. Alright, so to determine whether this suit is capable of like a pushback, right, we have to calculate the change in temperature of the air in front of the thrusters. So let's assume the initial force of liftoff it's going to be provided by rapidly heating the air under the suit's thrusters. So to find this change in T, right, you could equate the weight of the suit to the force provided by the near instantaneous increase in pressure, right, caused by the temperature change. Just from looking at this, right, the thrusters look to be circles of radius about, r equals 0.03 meters. The suit, the maybe 0.01 meters thick. And Tony Stark, well, let's just say he weighs about 70 kilos, all right? Surface area of 1.9 meters squared as well. So in the films, the Iron Man suit is said to be made from titanium gold alloy, I believe, from memory. So we'll use this compound because it's like 4 times stronger than pure titanium. And you can actually look up this compound's density, which is about 800 kilograms per meters cubed. So we can use the density, the surface area, and the thickness of the suit, right, to work out the mass of the suit to be about 15.2 kilograms. And that gives an overall mass to be lifted, M, of like 85.2 kilograms, okay? Voila. So here's the math. Let's quickly run through it. So the symbols in the ideal gas equation, right? These ones, they have their usual meanings, with like P1 and P2 being the initial and final pressures, okay? The mass is the mass of the suit. The M is the mass of the suit. So A is the area over which the pressure change acts, right? N is the number of moles of air, with rho air being the density of air at T1 of 1.225 kilograms per meters cubed. It's over here. All right, so if you rearrange equation 1, 2, and 3 over here, you'll actually get an equation for the change in temperature, all right, required to change pressure by the requisite amount. And that's this equation over here, number 4. And that change in temperature is 258 Kelvin, all right? And then to calculate the pushback received at close range, you have to model the shock wave caused by the rapid increase in air temperature around the thruster, right? Using this equation here, 5, and 6 over here. Oh, it's rubbed off a little bit. So then if we use equation 5 and 6 over here, okay, if you use the sound speed c in expanded gas, assuming instantaneous expansion, that's the value of v in the second equation, okay? And then also using the density of air at T2, which is like 0.4 kilograms per meters cubed for P1, and a gamma of 5/3, right? That'll give the sound speed of 948 meters per second. Okay, and using this velocity, the pressure of the shock wave becomes 270 kilopascals. Okay, so because of this, the force a person would experience due to the shock wave would easily knock a person back, with an average acceleration given by F equals ma of 2,614 meters per second squared. So this would likely kill anyone it would hit, because a human body can't withstand an acceleration of 266 Gs. There's a cap.
This isn't going to change what happened.
Okay, Cap just got blasted to the head, and we just worked out how, severe that would be. It would kill any normal human. I guess, Cap's not a normal human, but still. Just takes it to the head, doesn't even flinch, not even a tiny bit of eye movement, nothing. Alright, that one got him. Ooh, there it goes. Alright, I think we can work out how strong that pulse of energy must have been to do that. So, obviously, it's made of vibranium or something, right? I don't know what that is. I don't know what we could do there, but we could do some things, okay? So I'll come up with something. We're going to do a calculation. Let's see how strong Iron Man is after we watch the rest. All right, he just kicked him whilst he was down, which would also kill him. That's very cool. All right, since these particle beam type weapons don't really exist in service yet, let's compare it to the world's most powerful direct energy weapon. I believe that's called DEW, right? DEW. Okay, let's start with some assumptions, right? The arm itself let's imagine it as two cylinders, right? One from the shoulder joint to the elbow and one from the elbow to the fingertips, okay? And for the dimensions, we'll use the dimensions of a replica arm, all right? We'll use that to calculate the cybernetic arm. Another thing, in the film, the strength and durability was pretty impressive. So we'll assume it's made of like a titanium grade 5 alloy of uniform density, right? And you can look this stuff up. So the fight also took place in like some Siberian place. So let's take the upper limit of the average temperature in January for central Siberia, right, which is the ambient temperature, -10 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty cold over there. Reminds me of a story someone told me of how they went cycling through Siberia in -50 degrees Celsius. And the group of cyclists all had to wear like balaclavas, and I just couldn't stop laughing when he was telling me how they were riding along in balaclavas. Okay, let's get into some theory, shall we? Because the arm was entirely destroyed, right? The energy required to vaporize this thing, that's what we're going to find. And thus, the power of this unibeam, I think it's called. Alright, because the fight takes place in this area that's pretty exposed to the outdoors, right? So the cybernetic arm would have cooled down to the ambient temperature, which is -10 degrees Celsius. All right, I'm just going to do the math. So we begin by stating the volume of a conical cylinder, right? H is the height of the cylinder, R is the larger base radius, and little r is the smaller base radius, okay? And so from this, the volume of the upper arm and the forearm can be calculated, okay? So if you want to follow along, there's a bunch of numbers here, right? I think you can read them, hopefully. And then, so because we're assuming uniform density, right, you can do this. So the vaporization of titanium, that would actually require enough energy to overcome the transition thresholds in addition to its internal kinetic energy. So that's equation 4 here, right? So because there's no data of temperatures above the melting point of the alloy, so a model of pure titanium, let's use that, all right? And since the differences between them are pretty negligible, the temperatures of above 1800 Kelvin, right, so hence, if you use equation 3, right, the energy required for vaporization from a solid state is this big boy here, number 5, where for the titanium alloy, right, the mass of the arm is m arm. But you've also got the specific heat capacity, right? I've got all the stuff here written down if you want to follow along, and that's the CPT I5, right? You've also got the melting point that ranges from like 1606 to 1660 degrees Celsius, and the latent heat of fusion ranges between 360 to 370 kilojoules per kilogram. So basically, this TFT I5, that's going to equal 1660 degrees Celsius, right? And this LFT I5, that equals 360 kilojoules per kilogram. And for pure titanium over 500 Kelvin, the specific heat capacity, the CPTI, is equal to 0.6072 joules per grams. I can barely read my own writing. And the latent heat of vaporization is about 32. The boiling point is this one here, TVTI, equals 3260 degrees Celsius. And then finally, you need also the latent heat of vaporization, this LVTI, and that's equal to 9.83 megajoules per kilogram. Okay. And that's to get the minimum energy, okay? And then you can come over here. Can you see this? I don't know if I've got to move over more. You can get the power of the beam, all right? So you need the pulse of the beam. So I've written that down here somewhere. Pulse, geez, that's hard to read. 0.1875 seconds, okay? So if you use equation 2 up here, right, and I've written this down here, the volume of the upper arm, V1, 3.309 times 10 to the negative 3 per meters cubed, okay? And the volume of the forearm, V2 here, equals 6.78 to 10 to the, I can't read my own writing, 10 to the negative 3 per meters cubed. The total volume of the cybernetic arm as V equals 0.01 meters cubed, okay? So you can see that here. And then if you use equation 3, the mass of the cybernetic arm, which is 44.29 kilograms, okay, and then you use equation 5, this one, the required energy for vaporizing the arm, it gives 533 megajoules, okay, with a pulse of 0.1875 seconds. You can measure that just from watching. Thus, using equation, this one here, 6, okay, the power required to vaporize this arm, all right, this titanium grade 5 alloy is 2.84 gigawatts. So since the outputted power is not produced instantaneously, but taken from stored charge, the power from the beam doesn't really reflect the power of the reactor, okay? So even with modern advancements of DEW's directed energy weapons, Lockheed Martin's Athena was capable of firing like 30 kilowatt beams, right? And that broke the record for the most powerful DEW in 2017. And then the MK2, whatever it was called, aboard the USS Portland, that was capable of outputting something like 150 kilowatts. And that broke the record in 2020, right? So the minimum power of this unibeam, we just calculated, is still 19,000 times higher than that. So having a weapon capable of vaporizing these tough metal objects is probably still a work of fiction in our lifetimes, all right? It might be possible one day, and it surely will be, because look around the universe. So who knows what one day we'll be capable of.